Welcome, I'm Sarah Ray from the Bloomfield Public Library. Thank you for joining us tonight we have Shana here today to talk us about nutritional kitchen hacks. Shana, if you'd like to take over.
Yay, all right. Yeah, everybody, my name is Shana Griffin. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I do work full-time at the ShopRite of Canton. So just wanted to let everybody know that you can come and see me there. And but today we're doing a virtual program where we're going to talk about hacking your kitchen, tips and tricks to make your time in the kitchen easier and healthier. Today is actually National Dietitian Day. So this is a fun way for me to celebrate being a registered dietitian and sharing some fun tips with the community. So very happy that you're all here, and also very excited that you are all interested in learning about healthier ways to get in the kitchen and cook and live healthier. So I applaud all of you for attending and being here. That excites me, and I wish more people were interested. So either way, you can share all of these ideas with the people that you love. So let's get started. I like to put this up here. It might be hard for you to see, but how do you tell when spaghetti is done, right? How do you know when spaghetti is cooked, right? You throw it on the wall, and if it sticks, then you know that it's done. Just kidding. All jokes aside, don't really do that at home because, you just will make a mess. But a way to help make clean up quick, fast, easy, and less messy is parchment paper. Specifically this brand, and it looks like it's a little bit blurry, but it's called If You Care parchment paper. Parchment paper is a great way to put, even in like your Pyrex glass dish pans, not just sheet pans, but even in like a glass Pyrex pan, I will use that all of the time as a nonstick agent. So instead of spraying oil for added extra fat as a nonstick agent, you can simply just use parchment paper on your sheet pans or your baking dishes for a nonstick agent, and it really helps to ease the cleanup process. So if you're not using parchment paper, go buy yourself some, and you will thank me at the end of the day when you don't have as many dishes to do. Okay, another thing that is very interesting, and I don't think a lot of us probably think about this, but when you're baking something or you're creating a recipe, if the recipe has both oil or butter and like a honey or a maple syrup, honey can be very difficult to scrape out of a measuring cup. So what you should do is measure out the oil first in the measuring cup and then the honey, because if you already have the measuring cup with oil in it, the honey is just going to slide right out. So make sure when you're doing your recipe that you do the oil or butter first and then the honey. Will just make it a lot easier. This is one I feel like is kind of interesting, where maybe you've had eggs in the refrigerator for a long time and you're not sure whether they're good or they're bad. Good eggs sink, bad eggs float. If it is kind of hovering in the middle of water, whether it's in a cup or a dish, you can put it in there. If it kind of hovers in the middle, that means you want to use it soon, because it's eventually starting to create that oxidation in there, that fermentation, and it will start to float. So that is how you can tell if an egg is spoiled or not. And then how long to cook eggs. This is a nice visual to show you after so many minutes how the egg will be a hard-boiled egg with still runny yolk versus, cooked a little bit too long where that egg yolk then turns gray around the edge. So this is just a nice little cheat sheet to show you how long to boil an egg. I'm sure most of us can say that we like to have a nice French fry from time to time. And a couple of tips that you can use to create that crispy French fry is if you have an air fryer, obviously that can do the trick in terms of giving you that fried crunchy flavor. But if you don't have an air fryer and you have convection roast on your oven, you can use the convection roast setting just like you would for an air fryer. And the key here is using that parchment paper on the sheet pan will help to yield a crispier texture. And of course, cleanup will be a lot easier. But also, you don't want to crowd ever the potatoes on the sheet pan. If they're overlapping each other or touching each other, then they're just going to steam and they're not going to actually crisp up. So you want to give them space in between all of the slices on the pan. So there's that. Now, keeping berries fresh, berries are the healthiest fruit. So out of all the fruits out there, berries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries are really all of the lower glycemic fruits that jam pack the most amount of antioxidants, but they can be expensive, especially if they're not in season. And we want to really make sure that we're keeping those fresh for longer. So a way you can do that is when they come in that little container, that plastic container, take them out of the container and line them in a pan, in a little dish, like a shallow Pyrex dish, and put paper towels in there. That paper towel is going to help to keep them fresh for longer, but you don't want to wash them first. You want to wash them right before you're ready to eat them. By washing them, you're adding more moisture to them. And so, when they say when you get all your groceries home, you should wash them and chop them and prep them to make your life easier. Berries is one of those things where you don't want to wash until you're ready to eat, because the moisture will kind of speed up that process of molding and dehydrating them. Looks like we have somebody who's raised their hand. So it doesn't look like you're on mute. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, hi, it's Mark and Mara. It's not a question. It's what I do with berries and grapes. When I get them fresh, I rinse them out and put them in a plastic bag, without the water, so they're cleaned, and then I put them in the freezer, and it's a great dessert.
Yes. Oh, frozen grapes are one of my favorite desserts, especially, I don't know if you've ever had the cotton candy grapes. They're only available for a short period of time, but those make for a really great frozen treat.
Yeah.
And you're right, spreading them out on a pan or a plate and allowing them to freeze separately and then adding them to the bag after they've been frozen helps to prevent them from coming out in one big chunk that you then have to take a sledgehammer to, right? We don't want to do that. So yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite things to do. I don't always use the lids of a container. I now have myself a very small cutting board, and I use my large cutting board to cut almost everything, all of my produce items. So I'll take that mini cutting board and I'll put my cherry tomatoes on there, and I'll put the little mini cutting board on top, but you can use anything that's flat. So, whether it's a flat lid or maybe a very flat plate, put your cherry tomatoes down, and then just like the picture shows, I put the cutting board on top, and I take my knife and I slice them in one good, nice slice, you just chop up several cherry tomatoes at once. It's a little quicker and it absolutely works. So I do that on a regular basis. Now you want to make sure that you do it gently and that you have a really good sharp knife. Otherwise, you got to have a good pair of sharp knives. I mean, that's a kitchen hack right there, making sure you take care of your knives to make your life easier and more pleasurable in the kitchen. There's nothing worse than a dull knife when you're trying to cook. That does not make it fun. So, and then I don't think anyone would probably take the time and energy to do this, but I had to add it here. Storing tomatoes stem side down. If you're buying tomatoes, probably the chances of you using them pretty quickly, you're going to use them quickly. But if you do a big shop and you don't plan to use your tomatoes quickly, or, maybe you have your own garden and you pick too many and you're not going to use them right off, storing them stem side down helps to prevent that air from entering in and the moisture from exiting out where the tomato is attached to the vine. So, and again, storing tomatoes at room temperature. So if you think when you go to the grocery store, some people will ask, what do I have to keep refrigerated? What do I not? If you think about the produce wall that is in that refrigerated case, those are the things you need to keep refrigerated. The other things that are found in the big bulk bins, like tomatoes, and those things don't necessarily need to be kept in the refrigerator. So that is a great way from keeping your tomatoes from rotting too quickly. If you have a really good sturdy glass or a mug, you could slice a mango in half, and then instead of taking the knife and carving it out to peel the mango, you could actually just take it and slide it up along the edge of a nice sturdy mug, and it will peel right off of the skin. So another hack is to actually have a mango peeler. And I think a lot of people think, well, I don't really need to have any more gadgets in my kitchen. But cutting mangoes, in order to get the most, meat out of the mango, so to speak, sometimes it can be hard to cut. They're not the easiest fruit to cut. Let's just say that. So I have a mango cutter. It's kind of like an apple slicer, but it's made for a mango. And I really, really like that. I bought it and I love mangoes, and I do use that regularly, but this is another way to do it if you don't feel comfortable slicing it with a knife. So for avocados, this is an interesting thing, right? You go to the store, obviously you can do the test, and depending on when you're going to eat your avocado, you might want to purchase them hard or ready to eat. But the little stem, if you peel back that small stem or cap at the top of the avocado, if it comes off easily and it's green underneath, it means it's ripe. If it's dark brown, then it means it's overripe. So that is another way to tell the quickness of that. And I think we've all been there with avocados. It's like, not ready to eat, not ready to eat, not ready to eat. You have to eat me today. And then, oh, it's too late now. Now it's all brown. So, here's one of my favorite kitchen hacks. I love having my own herb garden outside, but obviously we're getting through winter, heading into spring. You can have, it's an easy way to just have herbs ready to go. It can be done indoors. So having just some fresh herbs in a windowsill is a great kitchen hack to providing and having easy access to some fresh herbs, which add a whole host of other great nutrition, especially cilantro. Cilantro is extremely detoxifying. It acts as a chelator, so it helps to remove heavy metals, So opting for more fresh herbs over dried is going to provide a huge benefit, let alone they really truly just taste better. So more on avocado. Throwing a quarter of an onion in the same container that you're storing your avocado can help it from going brown, or using fresh lemon or lime over the avocado. And I think if you can all see me, I should put a picture of this in there, and I don't think I have one in there. This little gadget right here, if you can see me in the video, this is my favorite kitchen gadget. It's a lemon tap or a citrus juicer. And what I do is I take my lemon and I take this and it's got little spikes on the end of it. Oops, I'm having a hard time showing you in the video. And I screw this right into my lemon, and then I have fresh squeezed lemon every day that I can add to my water first thing in the morning. And it's got a little spout on it. So you open it up, and then you would just squeeze the lemon when this is inside of there, pour it in, put your little cap back on top, and you have yourself fresh lemon. You don't have to get out a knife. You don't have to get out a cutting board to slice it. And it prevents the seeds from coming out. And it lasts me about, I don't know, 3 days if I'm just using it for water, but it's also great for, putting over fish or putting over your avocado, or adding to a recipe of some sort, or making a quick little salad dressing. So this little lemon zester is fantastic. You can get it online. They're like $5. So those are great. Again, here, same thing. You can brush on or spray, get a little spray bottle with lemon juice to spritz on apples, even to prevent that oxidization or browning from occurring, or get your little lemon zest tap and use that for those things. So, obviously I think most of us probably know about rolling your citrus to get the most juice out of it, is when you squish it and kind of give it a little roll. It helps to break up the fruit so that it can release more juice out of it. And then what you can do is once you're done with your lemon or your lime or any of your fruit, and you can take this out, and then I'll take a spoon or a fork and I stick it in there and I scrape the edges of it, and then I'll use it as zest. Also, the skin on the outside for zest for a rice pilaf, or maybe paired with some chopped up toasted walnuts and some fresh herbs, all mixed together, that can go over some roasted cauliflower or over some salmon. So those are ways that I like to use my lemon and lemon zest on a weekly basis. So for bananas, keeping bananas fresh, or to keep them lasting longer, you can wrap the end of the bunch with plastic wrap, and that will actually help to prevent and keep them longer. If you, on the other spectrum, want to speed up the ripening of the bananas, you can add them to a paper bag and close it. And what that paper bag does is it helps to concentrate that specific gas that helps to ripen up the banana faster. So a couple of days in a bag, and it will help to speed up the ripening process. So you don't want to store, if you're not looking to ripen them, then you don't want to store them near apples, because apples give off that gas that makes the bananas ripen or go soft much faster. So try not to pair them together if you're not wanting to speed up the ripening. But if you do, then go ahead and pair them together and they'll ripen up quicker. Mason jars are a fantastic way to create some either leftovers from all of your veggies and create a salad. But key is to put the salad dressing on the bottom and then work your way up with all of your dry ingredients. And then say you're going to work or you've just done some meal prep and you're at home eating, then you can just close it up, give it a shake, and it's ready to go. You're not adding the salad dressing on all of the ingredients, which then make it wilted and soggy. And nobody wants a soggy salad. Keeping lettuce fresh for longer, draping a paper towel over the bowl of lettuce, then wrapping it in plastic wrap will help to keep the moisture from the paper towel will absorb the moisture from keeping the lettuce from going soggy. So there's that. And then garlic peeling. There's so many different ways that you can chop, slice, and dice and peel garlic. So, you can use the knife method by smashing it. It just takes that peel off very nicely. Always, if you're going to, chop it with your, smash it with your knife, that you put the sharp blade away from you, just as pictured there. You never want to put the blade towards you and then smash your hand down and you slip and then you cut the palm of your hand. That would not be good. So that is one way. So I will do that. And then let me just, okay, it is on the next page. My second favorite kitchen gadget is a garlic press. So this is my garlic press. I use it every day, pretty much every day. And the thing about garlic is whenever you're starting a recipe, you should always start with mincing your garlic, because garlic needs about 10 to 15 minutes after it's been chopped, sliced, diced, minced, in order for it to release this specific compound called allicin, which has the health benefits. So if you just take your garlic and you chop it and you mince it and you throw it right into your pan and you're sauteing onions with it, then you're not getting the maximum benefit out of the health components of garlic. So you want to start with that, have a little dish, mince all of your garlic, and then let it sit so that it oxidizes in a positive way and releases those compounds so that you get the most out of your garlic. I'm not a fan of recommending the pre-minced or the pre-chopped that you can sell and that you can buy in a jar. If you want to buy the whole cloves that are already peeled in the vacuum sealed bag and then take the cloves and mince and chop them yourself, that is fine. But you're really missing out on the health benefits if you're already buying the pre-chopped and the pre-minced. And it just clearly does not taste as good as fresh. So don't skimp there. Kitchen hack is always fresh garlic. Cloves is the best way to go. Garlic can leave a really strong smell on your hands. So you can take actually stainless steel from a spoon and rub it on your hand. And that actually helps to get rid of the garlic smell. And it can also work for onions. So if you are handling a lot of garlic and onions on a regular basis, like I did yesterday, I did so much meal prep yesterday, my hands really did smell. I did not do the spoon trick, but it does actually work. So I like the smell of garlic. Cutting onions, if you put a little bit of oil, a little olive oil or a little butter on your sharp knife, when you're cutting onions, it actually helps to cut a little bit quicker, but it helps to prevent the onions from sticking to your knife. And it does help a little bit with the reduction of that strong strong sensation that you can get that will make you cry. So a little bit of oil on there, put a little on your hand, rub it on the knife, and it helps to prevent the onions from sticking. You can also spray your cutting board or knife with a little bit of lime juice before chopping your onions, and that helps to reduce that interaction of the onion, and helps to keep you from crying while you're chopping your onions. Here comes that apple slicer that I was talking about earlier. Great little kitchen hack to make life a little bit easier, but you can also use it to cut a sweet potato to make some sweet potato fries. So I don't necessarily personally like the big wedges, but I have tried this hack and it does work. And what I'll do is I'll then take each one of those slices and cut them in half with a knife just to make them a little bit smaller. But if you like, nice big chunks of sweet potato and you want a quick and easy way to chop it, you can use your apple peeler. For peeling potatoes, scoring around the center of the potato, right around the middle, just like the picture shows, and then boiling them for a few minutes to soften up the skins. And then when you drop it in ice water, the peel will literally just like peel right off of the potato. But keeping in mind that there's nothing wrong with the skin. Skin actually has so many nutritional benefits and fiber. So go ahead and eat the skin. If you're going to make mashed potatoes, keep the skin right in there and have a chunkier version of a mashed potato because it's more nutritious. So I think so many people think of mashed potatoes and they're always peeled, but keep the skins on. Or you can take the skins, put a little bit of olive oil, a little salt and pepper on them, and you can roast them and make potato skin potato chips. Removing corn kernels, you could use your bundt pan as a way to help do that job. Just like the picture shows there, if you've ever used a plate, the kernels go everywhere and they don't end up on the plate. But if you use a bundt pan, they'll fall right into the bundt pan, and it allows for that sturdiness of putting that corn on the cob right in the middle of that bundt pan. Smoothies. This is another one of my personal favorite kitchen hacks. It's more of a meal prep hack, which is really kind of another class in and of itself. So this is like an extension of another class. But the great kitchen hack is when you're chopping and slicing and dicing up your vegetables, or you're making things, go ahead and get out your bags and then throw in your spinach and your fruit and your kale and your greens right into these smoothie bags, and then label them and put them in the freezer. So that way it makes for throwing together smoothies really easy. You just have to pull out one bag and it goes right into your blender. On the lines of freezer ideas, using a ice cube tray to freeze extra broth in small little cubes comes in handy. So, don't waste the broth, freeze it. But if you're looking to maybe cut out some calories or reduce the amount of fat that you're cooking with, taking an inventory of what your pans are like. A lot of people will use a lot of oil as a nonstick agent when you're cooking. That adds a lot of additional calories. And I think a lot of people probably use way more oil in a pan when cooking than necessary. So using these little ice cube trays of a couple tablespoons, of a broth that you could pull out in a chunk and put that into your skillet pan or into your frying pan as a non-stick agent helps to lower the amount of calories and fat that you need to use. And so broth really can be a great nonstick agent. So that is an option. Or you could pull them out, if you're just needing something to steam a little something in a pan and you don't want to use oil, these are great options. Once it's frozen, you can pop them out and then put them into a bag and label it, so that you're not keeping it in the ice cube trays all the time, but it goes straight into a bag. And then herbs, same thing. Great hack for those ice cube trays is to take your freshly chopped herbs, and maybe it's the ones that are going out and you don't have any use for them. Well, don't let them go to waste. Don't let them get bad. Take them, chop them up, put them in an ice cube tray with some olive oil, and freeze little herb chunks for the same purpose. So maybe you're sauteing something in a pan and you do want a little bit of olive oil, but you want it infused with those flavors. These take boring cooking up a notch. And what an amazing thing to have here. I mean, we do sell, let me see. Yeah, I have it on the next page here. So we sell at most grocery stores, have this brand called Dorit. The red label is actually the old look. Most of the Dorits are now this purple container, but they sell little ice cube trays, little mini ice cube trays, just like you see there in that picture, of herbs. So garlic, parsley, basil, cilantro, ginger, for example, are great things to have in your freezer if you don't have time to chop up fresh herbs. Having them ready to go in these little frozen cubes is a great way to take your recipe up a notch. Very convenient and cost effective. Gourmet Kitchen has lightly dried herbs. So it's a mix between your fresh and your dried. So it's not quite fresh basil, but it's not dried herb, spice. It's in between. And if you open up that container of lightly dried basil, it is so fragrant. It smells so good. And they last about 4 weeks in the refrigerator. So if you're not somebody who uses a lot of fresh herbs, but you don't want the dried, this could be an option for something that lasts a little bit longer, but really packs in a lot of flavor and is cost effective and lasts for a while in the refrigerator. Oh, this is also one of my favorites right here. How many times have you used tomato paste and you only need about 2 tablespoons in your recipe, and then you put the little can in the refrigerator and it sits there and you don't use it and it goes to waste? Well, don't waste it. Take some of that parchment paper or wax paper or just a plate, and take a couple tablespoons, like a golf ball size, dollops on the parchment paper on a plate, and put it in the freezer and freeze it. And then you can, once they're frozen, put them in a bag. And then when you need only 2 tablespoons is a golf ball size of tomato paste. Boom, you've got it. It's in the freezer and it's ready to go. Or you could take a baggie, just like you see there in that picture, put the tomato paste in there, and then put it on a flat surface and run your finger down the middle and section it out in little sections and place that in the freezer, and it will freeze in those little chunks just like that. And then when you need a little chunk, you just break it out and it's ready to go. So a couple fun ideas there of how you can not waste any more tomato paste in your household. So making your own mirepoix is such a fantastic way to use up some to use up some carrots and celery and onion. And this is just a classic mirepoix recipe that you see here on the screen. It's about 2/3 of an onion, 1/3 of a carrot, and 1 celery would be about a serving of a mirepoix. But just taking all of those in their fresh form, chopping them up and then putting them in a bag in the freezer will extend the life of those veggies for so long. I mean, those can last 8 to 12 months in the freezer. And then when you want to make, a bolognese, or you want to make, which I made yesterday, I made a chicken bolognese, and I use onions and shallots and carrots and celery. You don't have a lot of time. Well, that's a shortcut right there. Boom, you just pull it right out of the freezer, and you can use it as a soup starter or for a million other different types of recipes. We do sell at most grocery stores. You can find it already, as a recipe helper. A couple different brands sell mirepoix, or you can just make your own and put it in the bag and put it in the freezer for yourself. This is interesting. I have watched multiple friends of mine cut carrots, and I realized that people needed to hear the proper way of cutting carrots because I see most people will take the large end of the carrot and hold the large end of the carrot and start chopping from the thin, small side and work your way up to the large end. You should always start cutting from the large end and work your way up, because once you get to that tiny little knob at the very end and it's a big chunk, it's harder to cut versus when it's a smaller side. So always cut your carrots from the large side all the way down to the small side. It's safer and it's easier to cut. Leftovers. Leftovers such as veggies or grains like quinoa can be used, instead of tossing them into the trash, they can be used to repurpose into other meals like casseroles, or personally, one of my favorites, picadas, egg bakes, whatever you want to call it, crustless quiche. Take all of those leftover veggies and grains, or maybe leftover roasted chopped up butternut squash or sweet potato. Throw it all in with some mixed up eggs, and mix it together and pop it in the oven and make yourself a veggie egg bake. Fantastic way to start a day. Eggs are super nutritious, lots of good quality protein, and an easy way to incorporate more vegetables into your diet is by starting your day out with vegetables for breakfast. And then if you're preparing one meal per week, and you can just batch cook. You want to cook once and eat twice. So when you're cooking, think add double, right? Add double so that you batch cook, and then it just makes for easy weeknights for having leftover veggies that you can throw into a bowl and call it a power bowl with all of those veggies and a good lean protein and a whole grain just mixed together in a bowl. Power bowls, things in bowls in general are in, and they're in for good reason, because they're easy and it's a great way to get in lots of colorful fruits and veggies. For leftover bread, don't waste the bread. Don't throw away those end scraps. You can take them and chop them up and put them on that pan in your freezer and freeze them, and then take them out and put them into a bag so that you have some frozen bread that can be used for making homemade stuffing, or instead of freezing it, you can go ahead and turn them into some croutons for a panzanella spring salad. You can make your own breadcrumbs, which you can then freeze, but don't throw away the bread. Repurpose that and turn it into a creative dish. There's nothing wrong with adding some of those end scraps to a nice salad, or maybe a casserole of some sort. Oh, leftover smoothies. if you make a big batch of smoothies, don't throw it away. You can throw them right into some popsicle molds. As the weather's getting warmer, opting for something like this is a healthier treat than opting for ice cream. So if you're making smoothies, make a little extra and then go ahead and make yourself your own popsicle molds that you can have for when you're feeling like you want a little treat. You can also freeze them into a mason jar or a jelly jar, which is generally what I like to do. I'll make a little extra and I put it in a mason jar and I put it in the freezer. And then when I take it to work with me after a few hours, it's pretty much thawed out and it's ready to have. You can use it for pre-workout fuel or post-workout fuel. So just having it in the freezer and then letting it thaw out by itself is a great way to keep all your other food in your lunch bag cold. Also, it almost acts as an ice pack. For grilling, another great way to use some citrus fruit, maybe some oranges or some lemons, is, fish can be tricky if you're cooking on the grill, but that citrus fruit can act as a non-stick agent on your grill, but add lots of amazing flavor for fish. So this should be on your spring, get your grill out season recipe list right here. Get some fresh herbs, get some citrus, get some salmon, and get cooking on the grill, just like that picture shows. You will not regret it. Nuts are, nuts have oils in them and they have fat, which can go rancid. So freezing shelled nuts to preserve their natural oils can help to prevent them, obviously, from keeping fresher longer. But if you buy in bulk a lot of nuts and they stay in your cabinets for an extended period of time, take it out of the cabinet, put them in the freezer. And it really is going to help to save you money, but then make sure that you're not consuming, nuts that have oxidized and gone bad. Here's my picture here. I had already mentioned, right? Nobody wants dull blades on knives. It does not make for cooking fun. And so take care of your knives, get them sharpened regularly. And if you're somebody who does like to do a lot of chopping and slicing and dicing, when you go to scrape whatever, maybe it's the onions or the garlic or peppers from your cutting board, use the back side of the knife to scrape. Don't use the sharp part of the knife to scrape. One, depending on what kind of cutting board you have, if they're plastic, you can scrape off some of that plastic, which then goes into your food, but it also dulls your knives quicker, which we don't want. So use the back end of your knife. Start making sure that you're doing that, and that becomes a habit. Keeping pots from boiling over, putting a spoon right over the pot, just like you see here in this picture, is going to help from keeping that pot from boiling over. So that is a really great trick right there. And hopefully you all have some kind of really good wooden spoon that you use. I love wooden spoons. I think I have an obsession with wooden spoons, actually. Taking care of your cutting boards. Here's another use for those lemons. There's obviously different types of food grade mineral oils that you can use, but another way is to take some coarse sea salt and a half a lemon and scrape your board with that sea salt and lemon to rid of the debris, but the lemon also helps to clean it. So that is a quick and simple way to clean your cutting boards. And then if you have a slippery surface in which you're using on most of our kitchen countertops, I think are probably pretty slippery. And if you have a wooden cutting board, it may slip around. So you can take a dish towel or maybe a damp paper towel and put it underneath your cutting board, and it will help to slide your cutting board from around on the table, especially if you have kids getting into the kitchen and starting to, help out. That could be dangerous. So having like a wet paper towel underneath there can help to prevent the cutting board from sliding around. In terms of washing your produce, this here is a recipe for, a good cleaner for your vegetables, to, avoid those. You want to avoid those harsh chemicals with some of the ones that you can buy at the store. So, one cup of water, 1 cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice is a very inexpensive way to create your own, putting in a spray bottle, and using that as your source for cleaning up your produce. And then investing in a salad spinner is great. I mean, you're gonna save money when you're buying those greens in bulk, or maybe you have your own garden, which hopefully, hopefully some of you do on here. I know I've dabbled in growing some of my own produce. I don't necessarily live in an area where I'm able to have a big garden, but I did grow some kale. I did grow some Swiss chard, and it can get dirty. So, salad spinner is a really great way to help prevent greens from wilting, and it will save you money. It will save the environment also by not always buying those big plastic clamshell boxes of greens. So if you don't have a salad spinner, it's a really great way to get yourself to eat more greens, but also save some money and make sure that when you are washing your greens and then you want to put it in, a salad, that they're not all wilted down after you have just washed them. So that's a great tool to have. And that is all I have for you. Whoop, I don't know what I just did, but I am going to
Thank you, Shana.
open